To fully appreciate the film Tarzan of the Apes, we need to understand the world as it was in 1917 and 1918.
1917 and 1918 marked the sunset of the progressive era for the United States. It was a time of reform and modernization of government, society, education, and the status of women. America became the world's leading industrial nation. It was a time of powerful industrialists known as robber barons. Industry saw the rise of labor unions. The rest of the world had been at war since 1914 with the assassination of the Austrian Archduke Ferdinand. America had been able to stay out of the war through the leadership of President Woodrow Wilson, whose 1916 re-election campaign slogan had been, "He kept us out of war." Most Americans favored isolation. The women's suffrage movement gained momentum concerning the right to vote. Women joined in public marches, and more women were being arrested for picketing the White House. Germany funded anti-Tsar propaganda, fueling a class struggle and the Russian Revolution. The Tsars were deposed, and a provisional government seized power. German U-boats surrounded England, making it increasingly difficult for the United States to stay neutral. German submarines sank the Lusitania, which carried American citizens. President Woodrow Wilson was the leader of the progressive era. Even as one of the world's most liberal reformers, he could no longer withstand the clutches of the First World War when Germany sank 7 U.S. merchant ships. Also, it was discovered that Germany tried to lure Mexico to join forces with them against the United States, with the promise of returning Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas to their territory if victorious. America saw this as casus bellum, Latin for a cause for war. April 6, 1917, the United States entered the war. In June, the entire world was stunned by a catastrophic flu pandemic, which killed between 50 and 100 million people over the course of 3 years. Over 500,000 died in the U.S. alone. At home, race riots broke out, resulting in the lynching of nearly 100 African Americans between 1917 and 1918. The war in Europe had some of the deadliest battles in history. No other war had changed the map of Europe so dramatically. 4 empires disappeared. Within 1 year, 5 million Russian soldiers were killed. An empowered Vladimir Lenin overthrew the Russian provisional government because they had done little to pull out of the German conflict. The Bolshevik Party became the Communist Party, which led to the creation of the Soviet Union. President Wilson was intent on bringing about an end to the war. He put forth his 14 points for peace, which became the outline for his dream for a League of Nations to keep peace in the world. November 11, 1918, an armistice was declared. Against the wishes of Congress, Wilson became the first sitting president to visit foreign soil for peace talks. He was hailed a great hero and went on to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. His vision for the Treaty of Versailles was heavily altered by the French, British, and Italians. They insisted that Germany pay 132 million gold marks and lose confiscated territories. These reparations were finally paid in full in 2010. This treaty, intended to end all wars, led directly to the Second World War. The U.S. Congress refused to sign the treaty and refused to become members of Wilson's League of Nations. It was determined that the U.S. needed to retain its sovereignty. Well, there's Eddie Rickenbacker, one of the most recognized heroes of the war. What a swell guy. He was given the Medal of Honor for his flight record of 300 combat missions and 26 aerial victories. The women's movement used the war to their benefit. The old anti-suffragist argument that only men could fight a war and therefore only men deserved the right to vote was refuted by the enthusiastic participation of tens of thousands of American women on the home front during the Great War. Congress passed the 19th Amendment, granted women the right to vote. It became ratified into the Constitution in 1920.